You think your biggest threat in a grid-down scenario is starvation. You are wrong. The second the lights go out, the real danger is the stack of emergency supplies sitting in your garage, waiting to be seized by the people you call your friends. The modern illusion of abundance runs on a razor-thin supply chain. 3 days of food, a municipal water system entirely dependent on uninterrupted power. When that delicate choreography shatters, the unprepared masses will not quietly accept their fate. They will come for your stockpile. Every grocery store in your zip code carries exactly what predictive algorithms tell them to carry for a rolling week. No more. The moment a regional disaster strikes, those shelves are stripped bare in a matter of hours. The realization that you are on your own is a tough pill to swallow. But the second realization is far more dangerous. Your foresight makes you a massive, glowing target. You are the anomaly in a neighborhood of victims, and victims look for saviors, whether you want the job or not. It always starts exactly the same way. The lights flicker, surge, and die. The hum of the refrigerator fades out. At first, everyone assumes it is just a blown transformer. They light a candle, open a bottle of wine, and treat it like a minor inconvenience. But by hour 4, the water pressure in the faucet drops to a pathetic trickle, then stops completely. That is the exact moment the psychology of your neighborhood shifts from mild annoyance to low-grade panic. The clock is officially ticking. A human being can survive weeks without food, but only about 3 days without water. Long before true starvation sets in, dehydration absolutely wrecks your physiology. Within 24 hours, fatigue and cognitive impairment cloud your judgment. By 48 hours, sheer desperation overrides any moral compass. Because water is heavy, bulky, and an immediate biological necessity, it is the very first resource that triggers the primal instinct to take what is not yours. The panic does not start with food, it starts with thirst. We do not prep to simply stay alive. That is a selfish, amateur mindset. You prep so your child does not look up at you with cracked, bleeding lips, begging for a sip of water you cannot give them. Guilt is the heaviest gear you can carry downrange. If you fail to secure your water, you fail your family. When the taps run dry, you are no longer a civilian. You are the sole protector of your bloodline. You cannot afford to let empathy compromise your operational security. Hope is not a strategy. Most people guess they have enough food and water to ride out a storm, but the math always says otherwise. You cannot guess your way through a collapse. Go to protocolsurvival.com right now, calculate your true survival score, and enroll in our free Catastrophe Survival 101 course. You need the command structure and the training before you actually need it. The moment the grid goes down, your window for preparation slams shut. Get your baseline established today. Let us talk about target number 1, water and filtration systems. If your garage is stacked with highly visible pallets of commercially bottled water, you are advertising your readiness to the entire street. We call this the wall of water mistake. Bottled water is universally recognizable. It is easily transportable in small quantities, and it becomes the ultimate currency overnight. When a desperate neighbor walks past your open garage and sees that plastic-wrapped oasis, you are instantly catalogued in their mind as the neighborhood supply depot. You must transition from visible, conventional storage to invisible, integrated systems immediately. Break down those pallets. Store your bulk water in heavy-duty, food-grade 55-gallon drums. Keep them in a basement or a secure, windowless outbuilding. High-volume water filters like Berkey systems or reverse osmosis pumps are dead giveaways that you have a secure water source. Keep those systems strictly out of sight from any external windows or doors. If they cannot see the well, they cannot drink from it. Total denial of resources can sometimes provoke a violent response from desperate people. This is where the decoy stash comes into play. Keep a small, visible amount of bottled water accessible near the front of your home. If you are confronted by an aggressive neighbour demanding help, handing over a single case of water can de-escalate the situation. It satisfies their immediate panic and gets them off your porch without ever revealing the true depth of your primary drums hidden behind closed doors. For those operating a dedicated retreat, the ultimate operational security is subterranean. Invest in underground water cisterns. A buried tank holding 2,000 gallons is completely invisible to casual observation. It is protected from freezing, safe from stray gunfire, and impossible for looters to casually drag away. The unprepared will scour the surface for puddles and rain barrels, while you are drawing clean, secure water from beneath their feet. Out of sight means out of mind, and out of mind means survival. By day 3, the initial water panic settles into a grueling, protracted war for calories. The human body begins eating its own fat reserves. This brings us to target number 2, shelf-stable food and agricultural assets. Freeze-dried meals, canned goods and bulk grains are the gold standard because they provide immediate fuel with no required infrastructure. When the unprepared stare into their empty pantries, their morality fractures. A man who was perfectly civil during peacetime will take a crowbar to your door if his kids are crying from hunger. Imagine the scenario. It is day 7. The neighbourhood has been running on empty stomachs for nearly a week. People are lethargic, sitting on their porches, staring blankly. And then the wind shifts. They smell bacon grease and beans cooking from your backyard. That single scent cuts through the silence like a siren. Olfactory OPSEC is one of the most overlooked aspects of survival. Cooking a hot, fragrant meal when the rest of your sector is starving will draw predators right to your perimeter. Your appetite just gave up your position. You must completely rethink how you prepare meals. Cook only at night when visibility is 0 and people are locked down. Use scent-free heating methods. Flameless ration heaters or simple alcohol stoves are your best options. Focus heavily on foods that only require boiling water, like freeze-dried pouches. Do not fry meats. Do not bake breads. The smell of baking yeast can travel for blocks. Your goal is to consume maximum calories with minimum atmospheric signature. You have to eat like a ghost. The easiest way a marauder profiles a target is by looking at the garbage. Standard waste collection stopped a week ago, and trash bags are piling up on the curbs. If your trash pile contains empty bulk rice bags, massive empty cans of survival food, and discarded MRE wrappers, you are broadcasting your inventory. Trash discipline is non-negotiable. You must burn all combustible packaging in a smokeless fire, or discreetly bury non-combustible waste in your backyard. Your refuse tells a story. Make sure it is a boring one. Just like the water decoy, you need a decoy pantry. Never keep all your emergency rations in the kitchen. Build a moderately stocked shelf with some cheap canned goods, half-empty boxes of cereal, and maybe a jar of peanut butter. If a desperate group forces their way in, or if authorities come knocking with a requisition order, you surrender this decoy pantry. You play the part of the desperate citizen. You cry, you beg them not to take your last cans of soup. They take the bait and leave, totally unaware of the primary cache hidden below deck. Your true survival stockpile should never be in plain sight. Deep caching is how you survive a thorough search. Build false walls in the utility room. Hide flat-profile containers under loose floorboards. For long-term insurance, bury sealed PVC cache tubes filled with dense calories out in the yard, making sure to dig below the frost line. Seal the threads with silicone and map the coordinates locally. If your house is completely compromised or burned out, you can return in the dead of night, dig up a tube, and keep your family moving. It is not just looters who want your food. If you run a visible homestead with a massive, perfectly lined row crop garden and grain silos, you are a glowing beacon for official requisition. Under declarations of martial law, the government possesses the statutory mechanisms to commandeer civilian resources for the greater good. Executive Order 13603 explicitly asserts authority over all forms of civilian food resources during a national emergency. A beautiful traditional garden is an agricultural asset, and assets get seized by the state. To protect your harvest, you have to practice foodscaping or guerrilla gardening. Abandon the traditional, highly visible rows of corn and tomatoes. Instead, plant edible root vegetables, Jerusalem artichokes, and berry bushes randomly among your standard ornamental plants. A desperate looter or a stressed official will easily recognize a neatly tilled farm plot, but they will walk right past a wild-looking patch of weeds that secretly hides a massive yield of edible tubers. Hide your harvest in plain sight by making it look like an unkempt lawn. By the end of the first week, the absolute darkness of a grid-down world starts playing tricks on the mind. The cold creeps in. The inability to communicate breeds severe paranoia. This introduces target number 4: fuel, energy sources, and transportation. Gasoline, diesel, and propane run the generators, power the chainsaws, and fuel the bug-out vehicles. Because petroleum products are finite, difficult to store, and immediately consumed, they become the blood of the post-collapse economy. Everyone will want what is in your jerry cans. Picture the dead quiet of a blackout. No cars, no planes. Now, fire up a standard gas-powered generator in your backyard. That mechanical roar echoes for miles. It is an auditory beacon that tells every hostile force in the area exactly 3 things. 1. This house has fuel. 2. This house has electricity. 3. This house probably has food and water to protect. Running an unmuffled generator in a crisis is like firing off a flare gun and screaming your coordinates. You will be targeted specifically so they can siphon your tank. If you absolutely must use a gas generator, you have to engineer it for stealth. Build a baffled sound enclosure box around it to muffle the engine noise. Only run the machine during daylight hours, when ambient wind and natural sounds can help mask the drone. More importantly, practice strict light discipline. Never allow lights to shine through your windows at night. Install blackout curtains on every exterior pane so your home appears as dark, cold, and abandoned as the rest of the block. Light invites knocks on the door. Keep it black. The ultimate energy OPSEC is transitioning to portable solar generators. A heavy-duty lithium iron phosphate battery bank paired with foldable panels is completely silent. It requires no combustible fuel, produces no exhaust, and can be hidden in a backyard or laid flat on a roof out of line of sight from the street. A silent power source draws zero attention. While your neighbours are killing each other over the last drops of stale gasoline from an abandoned sedan, you are quietly pulling endless energy from the sky without making a sound. Your 4x4 truck is a prime target for theft by marauders or requisition by local authorities claiming emergency transportation acts. You have to physically disable your bug-out vehicle when it is parked. Do not just lock the doors. Install hidden kill switches under the dash. Alternatively, pop the hood and pull a critical engine component like the starter relay fuse or the distributor rotor. Even if they break the glass and hotwire the ignition, the engine will just turn over and die. Make your asset useless to everyone but you. Storing bulk fuel is incredibly difficult due to its volatility and distinct smell. Do not leave bright red jerry cans sitting in an open carport. Store all petroleum products in a locked, heavily ventilated outbuilding away from the primary structure. Always use quality fuel stabilizers to extend the shelf life of your unleaded gas. If you have a permanent bug-out location, Look into burying an approved, environmentally safe diesel tank. During the energy crisis of the 70s, neighbours fought over fumes. Imagine what they will do when the pumps never turn back on. By the end of week 2, the lockdown phase breaks people mentally. They realise help is not coming. The emergency broadcasts are nothing but static. The polite veneer of society is gone. This is the inflection point where desperate scavenging turns into organised predation. Packs start to form. The lone wolves either die or join a larger group for safety. When these groups start moving block to block, they are no longer asking for handouts. They are kicking in doors. And this means you have to be ready to address target number 3. When the grid dies, the rule of law evaporates. It is instantly replaced by the rule of force. Target number 3 is firearms, ammunition, and tactical defence gear. Marauders will specifically target homes that look like they belong to prepared citizens, because stealing your arsenal exponentially increases their offensive capability. Every rifle they take from you is a force multiplier for them, and a fatal subtraction for your family. If they know you have high-value weapons, they will use fire to flush you out of your defensive perimeter. You hear the rumble of heavy diesel engines rolling down your street. You look out the crack in your blackout curtains and see uniform patches and armoured transports. Your neighbours run outside, crying tears of joy, thinking salvation has finally arrived. But the troops do not have pallets of food. They have clipboards and zip ties. They are moving house to house, executing emergency orders. They demand the surrender of all civilian weapons, promising protection in exchange for your disarmament. Defiance means arrest. Compliance leaves you completely defenceless. Now, I hear the armchair generals out there right now. You might think the National Guard would step in to hand out rations and restore order. You think a uniformed officer means safety and constitutional rights will be respected. Think again. In a severe regional collapse, military and local police units are stretched dangerously thin. Their primary objective is not to deliver you a hot meal or protect your specific property. Their objective is continuity of government and strict sector control. An armed populace is viewed as an unpredictable operational hazard. When local authorities are overwhelmed, they view armed citizens not as a stabilising force, but as a direct threat to their monopoly on violence. They will requisition what they need to maintain control. If they see you running a tactical rig and holding a battle rifle, you are not a friendly. You are an unvetted combatant in their sector. The legal frameworks exist for emergency seizures. Even if the letters of the law say otherwise, panicked local commanders making decisions on the ground do not have time for judicial review. We do not have to guess if this will happen. It already has. Look at the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina. The local police superintendent went on record stating that only law enforcement would be allowed to have guns. Police and guard units literally tackled elderly citizens in their own living rooms to confiscate their legally owned revolvers, leaving them completely vulnerable to the gangs roaming the flooded streets. The government passed a law afterward saying they would never do it again. If you trust that promise during a total collapse, you are a fool. You cannot rely on the cloud when the cell towers are dead. When the grid goes dark, the internet goes with it. You need a command center that works strictly offline. I built the Protocol Survival app to be exactly that system. You need to secure your inventory logs, map your caches, and access your training modules locally without a signal. Go to the App Store or Google Play, download Protocol Survival right now, and secure your offline backup. Do not wait until the screen goes black to realize your data is gone. To protect your defensive tools, you must embrace the grey man concept. Stop advertising your capabilities to the world. Remove the gun brand bumper stickers from your truck. Stop wearing tactical pants, combat boots, and military patches to the grocery store during the onset of the crisis. When you walk out your front door, You need to look like a harmless, average, slightly confused citizen. If you look like a Tier 1 operator, marauders will ambush you for your gear, and authorities will detain you for being a threat. Blend into the misery. Never keep all your firearms in one central safe. You must practice firearm segregation and ghosting. Keep a primary defensive weapon hidden but instantly accessible. But take your backup rifles, your spare parts, and the heavy bulk of your ammunition and cache them off-site. Pack them in waterproof hard cases with desiccant packs and bury them in a secure location. If your home is raided and you are forced to surrender a weapon at gunpoint, you hand over one rifle, knowing your true arsenal is buried safely in the dirt 3 miles away. If you have a massive 600-pound gun safe bolted to your floor, you cannot hide it. So use it as a trap. Fill that heavy safe with a few inexpensive beat-up firearms. Old bolt-action hunting rifles, rusty single-shot shotguns, and a few boxes of birdshot. When the raid happens and they demand the combination, you open it up. They seize the junk, think they have disarmed you, and move on. They will never think to look behind the false air return vent in the hallway, where your primary battle rifle is staged and ready. If you are forced to use a firearm for defense or procuring small game, understand that the crack of a supersonic rifle round is going to echo for a mile. Every desperate soul in the sector will know exactly where that shot came from. Acoustic OPSEC is critical. You need to invest in legally registered suppressors right now. If you cannot get a suppressor, utilize silent hunting tools like modern crossbows, high-powered air rifles, or compound bows for securing protein. A silent kill feeds your family without inviting the rest of the neighborhood to dinner. We hit day 30. The initial chaos has burned out, replaced by a dark, grinding reality. The general population has fundamentally changed. People have lost 10 to 20 pounds. Their faces are sunken, their hair is unwashed, and they show the physical markers of severe malnutrition and chronic stress. This creates a massive OPSEC vulnerability for you, known as the emaciation indicator. If you and your family are well-fed, clean, and energetic because you have a secure stockpile, you will stand out like a neon sign in a graveyard. You look too healthy. You have to camouflage your caloric retention. If you must go outside to scavenge or attend a neighborhood meeting, you have to play the part. Wear baggy, oversized clothes to hide the fact that you haven't lost weight. Rub dirt on your face and hands. Practice looking exhausted, slumped over, and defeated. If you walk out your front door with good posture, clean clothes, and a spring in your step, the wolves will know exactly who is hoarding the food. Visual profiling is real. You must look like a victim to avoid becoming one. This brings us to target number 5. Medical supplies, antibiotics, and first aid. In a true grid-down environment, minor injuries easily become fatal. A simple scratch from a rusty nail can lead to sepsis. Drinking improperly filtered water leads to dysentery. The hospitals are either completely overrun, shut down by authorities, or stripped of all usable supplies. Medical gear transitions from being a basic necessity to literal life or death commodities. People will trade everything they own for a single course of antibiotics, and they will kill for trauma gear. A man from 2 houses down knocks on your door at midnight. He is crying. His 6-year-old daughter has a severe respiratory infection and her fever is spiking. He knows you are the prepared guy. He begs you for amoxicillin. This is the ultimate moral dilemma of survival. If you give him the medicine, you might save the child. But you just confirmed to the neighborhood that you have a pharmacy inside your house. Tomorrow, there will be 10 people at your door demanding pills. And the day after that, they won't be asking. You must maintain strict silence regarding your medical capabilities. Never discuss your stockpile of fish antibiotics or combat gauze with anyone outside your immediate operational circle. Charity is a noble human trait, but in a true collapse, exposing your medical cash jeopardizes the survival of your own bloodline. If you decide to help someone, it must be done anonymously, like dropping the supplies on their porch in the dead of night. Never attach your face or your address to a resource. You cannot save the world, but you can save your family. The threat is not just sick children. Drug addicts will be the very first wave of marauders to target commercial pharmacies. When the CVS and Walgreens are burned out and empty, those addicts will begin targeting residential homes looking for painkillers and psychiatric medications. They are unpredictable, desperate, and highly dangerous. If they find your stash of trauma meds, they will take everything. You cannot treat medical supplies like regular cargo. They are sensitive, highly valuable assets that must be hidden with the same care you use for hiding your primary weapons. Medical preps are small, which makes them easy to hide through microcaching. Store your sensitive medications in airtight mylar bags with desiccant packs to prevent moisture degradation. Hide these small packages in discreet, climate-controlled areas of the home. Hollow out thick books on your shelf and pack them with blister packs. Slide thin trauma dressings behind the air return grates in your hallway. Drop pill bottles into the cavities of interior walls behind electrical outlets. Make them hunt for it. If they kick in the bathroom door, they should find nothing. Once again, the decoy strategy proves its worth. Keep a standard, commercially bought red first aid kit sitting under your master bathroom sink. Fill it with normal household items, a few band-aids, a half-empty bottle of ibuprofen, and a roll of cheap gauze. If your home is tossed by addicts or searched by a patrol, this looks exactly like the minor supply of an average, unprepared household. Let them take the ibuprofen and walk away, never realizing your heavy tourniquets, chest seals, and antibiotics are sitting quietly inside a fake electrical panel downstairs. To protect this massive cache of supplies, you must have early warning. You cannot rely on fancy Wi-Fi security cameras. You need passive, low-tech perimeter alarms. String up tripwires attached to blank shotgun primers along your fence line to alert you to trespassers before they reach your walls. Plant defensive flora under all ground floor windows. Thick, thorny blackberry bushes or Osage orange trees will shred anyone trying to quietly pry open a window in the dark. Layer your security so that by the time they reach your front door, you are already dialed in. Physical supplies can be seized, burned, or lost. Knowledge cannot be confiscated by a rogue patrol or stolen by a starving neighbour. You must invest heavily in tactical and medical training. Take a wilderness first responder course. Learn how to splint a broken femur with scavenged wood. Learn how to identify willow bark for pain relief when the pills run out. The man who relies entirely on his gear is dead the moment he loses his backpack. The man who relies on his skills becomes a force of nature, completely immune to the confiscation of physical goods. The primary reason preppers lose their gear is a fatal failure of ego. We call it the arrogance of preparedness. People are proud of their foresight. They brag to their co-workers about the new solar generator. They post photos of their immaculate, colour-coded food pantry online. That digital footprint never goes away. When the grid drops, your neighbours won't remember exactly what brand of radio you bought, but they will absolutely remember that you are the guy who is ready for anything. You just made yourself the neighbourhood's Plan B. Silence is your greatest armour. There is a massive debate between the lone wolf mentality and building a community. History proves that lone wolves eventually die tired. A single family cannot stay awake 24 hours a day to guard a stockpile. The ultimate defense against seizure is a unified, strictly vetted mutual assistance group. If you can quietly organize a network of capable, trusted individuals before the collapse, you can establish watch schedules and overlap your fields of fire. But vetting is everything. Invite the wrong person into your inner circle, and they will hand the keys to the enemy. You must completely abandon the peacetime delusion that your legal rights to private property will be respected during a systemic collapse. When the trucks stop rolling, survival becomes a game of tactical deception. You hide your water, you camouflage your food, you ghost your firearms, you muffle your power, you microcache your medicine. You project the illusion of absolute poverty to the outside world while quietly sustaining your family from the shadows. The authorities want control, and the desperate want your lifeblood. Give them neither. Give them only the grey man. Preparedness is not about hoarding plastic buckets of rice. It is about understanding the brutal reality of human nature when the fragile guardrails of society are ripped away. Do not advertise your readiness. Keep your head on a swivel, cache your supplies deep, and practice absolute silence. The unprepared will always try to seize what they refuse to store. Remember, the just-in-time supply chain is not what keeps the lights on in this country. It is what keeps the monsters out. Stay alert, stay quiet, and keep your gear out of sight.